Hello and welcome back to my small little library. Today we're gonna talk about the books I read in December. I'm a little bit late with this video, but because of like some mental health and stuff, I didn't upload. I didn't film and upload a video last week, so we are slightly later than I would normally like this video to come out, but I had a really interesting reading month in December, I have to say. I had some really good reads and some pretty disappointing reads. So let's start with the first book that I read in December, which was Gone Baby Gone by Dennis Lien. This is a detective novel. We have two main characters, which are a couple by this part in the series. This is part 4 in the series. And we have the couple are detectives, and they had a really bad case before that, and somebody died that they knew, and they are like kind of ready to only take like really boring cases is pretty much the point that they're at. And then a little girl goes missing, and she goes missing from her mother's apartment. Supposedly the mother was there, and yeah, the little girl's just missing, and so they kind of have to get involved. They feel really bad. They can't get it out of their heads that, you know, this little girl is out there and something could have happened to her. And for children, obviously the like most critical hours are I think the first 48 hours. So they do and take the case, and then everything just really kind of unravels from there. Drugs are involved, really bad people are involved. They have to work with the police, which they are rather helpful. Like, the police like working with them because they know what they can do. But it's still a little bit of like, you know, we want to do it this way, we want to do it this way. And the detectives not necessarily having to go by the rules of the police and stuff like that. Really interesting read. I gave it 4 stars. I have only read 2 books out of the series. I think the first one and the 4th one now. And I didn't love the first one. But this one was really great. And in my personal opinion, you don't need to read the whole series to get the book. Like, obviously you don't have the case that comes before this, which I also didn't have, but it didn't really matter to me at all. I just really liked this one. So yeah, it's not like I feel like I want to go back and read the others of the series because of the first one, but this one really stood out to me. And so I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the case. I enjoyed the way everybody was working with one another, like the police with the detectives, but also the detectives like together, because obviously there's a lot of like tension there. Obviously they're not the same person, and they are just newly together. Like, they used to work together as friends, and now they are just newly a couple, and that obviously brings a lot of different tension into the mix. So yeah, really good detective novel if you like those. Would recommend. Don't know if I would recommend the whole series, but at least part 4 I would. Which might seem weird, but for me, I don't really care with like these really long series where only like the main character is the same, but like you have different cases. I don't care too much about reading them all in order. Other people might, I don't. Then we had a really interesting sci-fi, which made me keep the sci-fi book box. Which was a whole thing in itself. But I got Slow Gods by Claire North from Illumicrate, and this is a really pretty copy. We have really pretty end papers, and yeah, I was really surprised that I liked it, but I did really like it. This is a sci-fi where the main character isn't the hero, but he kind of is. It's like one of those books that are like, oh, there are no like good people, like where you go in and at the end the main character is like, did I make a difference? Did I make it better? Did I not? Like a really skeptical main character, I would say. It has a lot to do with really problematic people. But you know, it's a sci-fi. People are like not on Earth anymore because Earth was kind of destroyed. There was like a big war, and humanity has split up into different groups that formed different kind of countries, but like they are on different planets, and they all have different ways of life. And our main character comes from a planet where military order is like the main thing, and your worth comes from working. And if you don't work, you don't have worth for the society, and the ones with the least worth for society get picked to be pilots. And we have the same thing, really similar to the Architect series by Adrian Tchaikovsky, where the pilots have to go through unspace, and there's like something lurking there, and it's really scary, and people lose their minds going through it. And so each of these like splinter cells of humanity have like a different way of choosing their pilots and the way they treat them. And so where our main character comes from, people that are taken prisoner get put to be the pilots, and they can be used like 3 times and then they aren't usable anymore. But something happened to our main character and he gets revived, and from then on he can't really die. Like if he dies, he just gets revived again. And so obviously he leads a really, really different life from there on. He gets rescued or like taken in by a different society, and they are afraid of him because of what he can do. And the whole book is kind of revolves around him being slightly unstable, or feeling like he's slightly unstable, and everybody else treating him like he's really breakable. And then we have, on the other hand, we have the slow gods who come and are like, these 2 planets will crash into one another, and the explosion from that will destroy planets. So you need to evacuate those planets. And at first people are like, why should we, trust that? We don't really know these gods. It's just like, it's more or less like a box kind of that is talking to them. And so people are really unprepared, and then once they can see what is coming, they're like, oh shit. And our main character kind of helps evacuate stuff, and then the story kind of goes from there. He meets people. It's a really, I feel like, more like modern book. There's a lot with pronouns, which is kind of funny. Like we also meet like aliens and like just like different people in general, and everybody kind of interprets gender differently and stuff like that. It was really, really interesting. I feel like it's a really interesting discussion, and we have like between chapters we have like inserts where a little bit of like history get explained, or for example why they choose which gender, or why it sounds different than humanity is used to, stuff like that. I really like that. It's like, something you either like or you don't. I personally really liked it, so I gave it 4 stars. It was a really, really good sci-fi, pretty solid one. Claire North is her normal name under which she publishes Catherine Webb. So if you've read a book of hers by that, same author, but like really good solid sci-fi. I really enjoyed it. There were a lot of like interesting discussions. I feel like you need to read the book to kind of understand that. I'm really bad at paraphrasing things like that. But yeah, I would actually really recommend it if you can see yourself reading such a book. It was really good. It was something different. There were things that could have been done better, which is why I gave it 4 stars. But there were aspects where like the main character is always talking about having no emotions, but he quite obviously has emotions. He just doesn't label them as emotions, and I find that kind of problematic, because that is something we tend to do in real life as well, with like, men just being angry, but like being angry is an emotion, and then we're like, oh, women are the emotional gender. It kind of goes a little bit into that, which I thought wasn't handled ideally in the book, if you wanna look at it that way. But it's a really, really small portion, so I would really recommend the book. The next book that I read was the worst one, which was Violets Are Blue by James Patterson. I just do not like Alex Cross as main character. And then here we have pretty much a split narration. We have the case, which is in the beginning 2 joggers that get killed, and then they are pretty maimed, and it's like a pretty like gross case. And then we have Alex Cross's nemesis, and he plays a game with Alex. So we have those 2 parts of the narration pretty much, and then kind of everything gets weird from there. I personally find, like, because I don't enjoy the main character, everything else feels so senseless, because there's somebody who like makes his life worse, but like I don't care for him, so I don't really care for his situation in that point, I don't know, this case just really fell flat. It was like pretty obvious, like, oh, they took drugs, and then there comes like a masquerade thing like into it, where people are like, they put on costumes and that has something to do with the murders. I personally, it just wasn't my taste at all. Like, at all. I just couldn't get into it, so 2 stars for that one. Once I finished all of them, I'm never gonna go back and read another James Patterson, I can tell you that. Then we have the next James Patterson I read, with 4th of July, which is the Women's Murder Club novels, which I like a little bit better. This was the 3-star, where our main character, Lindsay, she has to fire her weapon because of an incident, and then everybody thinks, you know, maybe she did it, but she didn't. And so we have her being part of this trial, and then to kind of get out of the limelight and get away from work, because obviously she's not allowed to work because of the incident. She goes to this like more remoter village, and then people are dying there and she has to investigate, and that is kind of the story. I like her main character a lot more than Alex Cross, but it's still, I don't know, James Patterson's thrillers don't really mesh with me. I find them all in all on the rather boring side for thrillers, so yeah, 3 stars. It is solid, you can read it. I personally wouldn't recommend James Patterson, but if you know, tried one of his books and you like his writing style, obviously go read them, because that'll make sense. For me, they don't. Then we have my absolute favorite book I read in December, and that was Snake Eater by T. Kingfisher. This is a horror fantasy book, kind of, about gods, and our main character, she kind of runs from an abusive relationship after her mother dies, and she was in contact with her aunt, hasn't heard from her in a couple of years, but the aunt has extended an invitation for her to come visit her. And so she like rides the train into this like desert place. It plays in America, but yeah, it's a really remote little village in the desert, and so she goes there, and then she finds out that her aunt has actually died. And so she's like, shit, what do? I don't have any money, I don't have anybody I can go to. I could go back to my partner, but he's kind of abusive. I don't really want to do that. And then the people are like, yeah, just move into your aunt's house. Like, it's not like anybody cares around here. And so she moves into her aunt's house, and from there, weird things start happening, and she starts seeing gods, or like minor deities, and it's all like a lot for her to take in, but it's really, really cool. And it teeters on the edge of horror, I would say. It's not like a scary horror, but it's like this ominous force. She has like the good minor deities, and then there's this ominous force that is a problem with the Snake Eater. But yeah, 5 stars. Love the way the story is told, love the characters. Absolutely, the characters were brilliant in here. The way the main character is written, she has a lot of trouble with, like, obviously somebody told her that she cannot talk, that whatever comes out of her mouth is wrong, and she like carries that really, really deeply. And so every time she talks, she's like, oh my god, what did I say? Was it the right thing to say? What on earth did I do? And this carries throughout the book, and you know, you have this journey from her being really, really insecure and really suffering from feeling like a failure of a human, to getting comfortable and to making friends and to actually feel like she's not completely a failure. It was really nice to read. And then she also has a dog, which is always a plus in my eyes. But yeah, this one was brilliant. I would really recommend. Just the whole concept of the story was super, super interesting. Yeah, really good. Then the next 2 were kind of ones I hoped I would like, but I wasn't that impressed. The first one is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I don't mesh with coming of age stories with Brandon Sanderson ever since Mistborn. Loved Mistborn. This one I didn't really mesh with. I didn't entirely enjoy the main character. The main character is a girl who, they live on this planet where they have to live inside of the planet, and I think they're called Krell, yeah, the Krell are attacking them. Like humanity have fled Earth, they come to this planet, and the Krell are attacking them, and because of that, humanity lives inside the planet. And to save the planet, they have like pilots, and they shoot the Krell out of the sky. And she wants to become a pilot, but the problem is her father was a pilot, and he seems to have abandoned his mission or died or something like that. And so she has a lot of trouble becoming a pilot, but she's also a really, really angry, angsty teen, which I don't enjoy reading about. And so that gets her into a lot of trouble. And she then finds a fighter jet in, like, on the surface in like a little cave. And so she starts repairing it and making it able to fly again. And then she obviously has a lot of like good things coming from that. But yeah, she's really ostracized in the beginning, and it's a lot of drama. It's really a lot of drama, and I didn't quite enjoy that. I do think it has a good basis, and I think if I would have read this as like a teen, I would have really loved it. But this one I feel like is one of those YA books that don't really translate to being an adult. And so I gave it 3 stars. Don't know if I will continue with the series. I do own the second one. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I know it's not a bad book, but it's like her angstiness really got to me. I feel like there are ways to do angstiness that I can live with, and ways to do it that I can't live with, and I can't really live with that angstiness. And then we have the last book that I read in December, and that was Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. And this was so disappointing. This book has only 100 pages. It's really, really short. And the problem is it starts off so good. We have 5 people, and they always meet at the graveyard shift on the graveyard to smoke, because all of them work nights, and some come from work, some are in the middle of their workday, and they all together can't smoke at their workplace, and so they randomly met at the graveyard, and now they are this group, the graveyard shift. And one day, the beginning of this book, because this book plays out over one day, they come to the graveyard and there is a hole dug. And so they are interested to see what is going on, and so they start investigating. And we have one barkeeper, we have a journalist, we have a receptionist in a hotel. One, I think, who lost his job, who lives in the church on the graveyard. And the last one, she has a day job. I forgot what her day job was, but she's also kind of like an assassin. She's pretty badass, but yeah, the problem is like we start with this really interesting constellation, and then they start, you know, throughout the night to see what is happening. Why is there a hole? What is happening? And it all connects to some research for insomnia. And the girl who has like the day job but is also kind of an assassin, she has insomnia, and it's all kind of connected in the end. I don't want to spoil too much, because obviously it's only 100 pages. I would spoil the whole book. The problem is that there's so much left out of the story. This is one of those short stories that should have been a 300-page book. And I'm really, really sad that it's not, because it started so interesting, and then we skip over so many things and so many backgrounds, and why are people like what they are in the book, and why do some people behave like they behave, and what on earth is the background for everything. And we don't get that because the book is just too short for that. And it was so sad because I wanted to know so much more, and so in the end the ending fell flat because the book just ends. Like they find out what happened there, and they write an article that they want to publish in the newspaper that where the one person works, and then it just ends. It's just finished. The story is done, and we don't really get closure with the people. It's just nothingness in the end, and that was so disappointing. I gave it 3 stars because of that, because the beginning was so good. Like, the book really gets you. You really want to know what happens, and then you get so little. So yeah, this was really a disappointment. I was so sad in the end. So yeah, I would actually recommend reading it. I would lend it from your library, because I it's 100 pages and it's so disappointing. I don't really know if it's worth having on your shelf, to be honest. I do love the copy that I have. I love the, the optics. They reminded me of Annihilation. But I would recommend reading it because I think it's a really, really great start and it's an interesting story. Just be prepared that you don't get all of the information that you want to have and you kind of don't get the story that you want to have because it's just too little and it just stops. And yeah, that is kind of the disappointment of the month. So yeah, those were all of the books that I read in December. As I said, I had a really interesting reading month. A lot of like new books to me. No reread, which is kind of astonishing. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with those books. Except for the James Patterson ones. I didn't have a lot of fun with those. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this still, even though it's late. If you've read any of these books, leave your opinion down below. If you maybe have a different opinion than me, please leave that down below as well. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you would leave a like or subscribe, that would be really nice. And hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!